Brian Hill, the CEO of Aritzia, after a drawn-out battle, purchases the IP for Fred Segal. Why? Because his real estate company owns the real estate, the iconic Melrose location that Fred Segal kind of came to be. And for those who don't know, Fred Segal is the epitome of LA cool. It was the epitome of LA cool. Like, it was the spot to see celebrities shopping. And what was cool is Fred Segal was kind of this original concept store. And he had a really iconic logo. He had fantastic real estate, and they were amazing buyers that could find brands early and create these ecospheres where you were almost going into a mall on Melrose Avenue. But here's what all of these headlines miss. Aritzia was modeled off of Fred Segal. So it's the exact same concept. What Brian Hill does in 1984 is creates his first Aritzia boutique. And the Aritzia boutique is a smaller version of Fred Segal. It becomes a concept store. He brings in Babaton as its first isolated line. Then he brings in Wilfred. And then they start developing more Aritzia lines. So they have TNA that starts blowing up. And then now today, when you go into Aritzia, the brand is built up almost like this concept store where there's like brands within a brand. What's fascinating is that Brian Hill's real estate firm, Aritzia, has been paying rent to it since it started owning it 4 years ago, but the brand couldn't do anything experiential because all it owned was the real estate. It couldn't use the sign. Like, he wants to keep like the Fred Segal sign. He wants to keep like the colors. He wants to keep like the Fred Segal experience. But the Segal family was like, no, you bought the real estate. You have no access to the brand. You can't own the brand because the sign in LA is so iconic, like the blue and the red coloring.
I think the family might be a little bitter about, which is why there was a fight. Because Aritzia kind of copies Fred Segal. But then as the marketplace changes, Fred Segal doesn't adapt, Aritzia does. And then it's kind of like the student becomes the master, and there's a little resentment there.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So Fred Segal shut down because they didn't master e-com. Fred Segal had such expensive real estate that they just couldn't stay afloat, and it was too difficult for them to get ahead of e-com. The core point of what I'm noticing here, the signal to take away, is that Brian Hill is investing in the best real estate in the center point of brands in the United States to create experiential retail for Aritzia. It's creating that destination, that place where when you go to LA, like when you go to Erewhon, you want to take your photo, snap the selfie, show that you've physically been there. And he's taking the shop-in-shop concept that they built Aritzia off of, and exactly to your point, moving into the master's house and owning that space.